Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mila and today we are doing the end of year book tag. Now, it's not exactly the end of the year, but I like this book tag and I thought it would be a fun one to do towards the end of the year. So, let me just get my notes. Because I have my... Wow, it is dusty and crusty. Holy cow. Don't go crazy, please. Okay, so there are like 6 questions, I think. Oh, is it? So I've got them on my Kobo, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my Kobo. So, the first question is, any books you started this year that you need to finish? So I do have a couple. And these weren't all started like this year. These are also those that I want to finish. I started ages ago, and some of you will probably yell at me for it. Okay, so the first one I actually have a copy of, which I did start. Whoops. And that is The Blood of Old Kings by Sung Kim, translated by Anton Her. And this isn't particularly long in my scale of how long a book is. So this isn't particularly long. I think I could knock it probably in an afternoon. So I think I'll be okay. The next one I have is Babel. No, I have not read Babel. Yes, I'm a huge fan of R.F. Kuang, and yes, I'm a huge fan of Dark Academia. I had a Dark Academia vlog planned, but that didn't entirely work out, so whoops. This is an ARC, and this is one I only have an ebook version of, so it's an e-ARC, and that is Breath of the Dragon. I really want to finish this because this is by one of my favorite authors, and she also co-wrote this with Shannon Lee, who's the daughter of Bruce Lee. Yes, that Bruce Lee, which is so cool. And I started reading it, and it was just really interesting. I really enjoyed it, but for some reason I tapered off a little bit, and I think this was around where I was at the time when I was contemplating rereading Stormlight Archive in preparation for Stormlight Archive 5. So, yeah, there's that. The Count of Monte Cristo is another one that I really want to read. I did start it. It's sitting on my desk. Yeah, I can't. It's a big book. It's a big book. It's a big book. I feel like I need to just sit down because right now I'm reading Rhythm of War, and that's the most current read that I have, and I can't focus on any other long books. I can focus on the shorter ones. So for example, I could read The Blood of Old Kings at the same time as I'm reading Rhythm of War, but I can't really read 2 books of the same length or of similar lengths, big books kind of thing. So yeah, and the other book that I really want to finish because I've heard nothing but good things is Engines of Empire, and I got a really big chunk through it, and I was also listening to the audiobook of it, and it just didn't happen. I stopped. Sorry. Let me just fix the lighting on this. There we go. It's a little bit better. Fix it afterwards. The next question I have, do you have an autumnal book to transition to the end of the year? So, honestly, off the top of my head, not really. It's not really, there aren't any books that I will reread every autumn, every fall season, but I definitely have a sort of genre that I sort of gravitate to, and that is the long fantasy books, which isn't really a genre or a subgenre, but it's the long ones, right? The ones where you sit down and you're reading and you're really immersed, and it's just giving that really cozy autumn feel. So one would be Stormlight, obviously, given that it's fall winter-ish. We are in November right now, and there has been snow outside, but it's actually really sunny. It's been going on and off. It's kind of weird. Earlier it was really gloomy, so I don't know what's going on with the weather, but yeah, there's one. And from this year forward, I think I will be reading The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit every single year during this time, like during autumn, during like the winter seasons, because I finally read the Lord of the Rings trilogy this year, and it was so good. It was fantastic, and I wish I'd held off a little bit, but at the same time, I think when I read it, I really needed that trilogy. I really needed that comforting sense that I have from the movies. I really needed that, and I wanted to find that in books, and I did find that in books, as well as The Hobbit. I haven't read The Hobbit in a hot minute, but I remember really enjoying The Hobbit. I did it via audiobook, and it was the first book that I did solely via audiobook. So what I do is I often switch around formats. I'm not a stickler about it. Or I sort of read while I'm listening. That's why my audiobook speed is so fast, because I match it to my reading speed, which is atrociously fast. And I'm not skimming. I do want to say this right here, right now, and never really talk about it again, like one and done. I do not skim read. Okay, I'm actually reading fast, and yes, I actually retain the information. Maybe not all of it, maybe not to 100%, but I will retain a majority of the information more so than people would who are actually skim reading. Like, I'm not gonna go where there's a page full of descriptions. I'm not gonna ignore that for the dialogue. I'm actually going to read through it. Okay, I'm just genuinely, I'm a fast reader. The next one I have is like Secret History and If We Were Villains. Now this is like very dark academia-esque, and obviously going back to school, September, October, it's very fall, August, September, October are very fall season months and stuff. So these are two that I also associate with fall, especially. I think more so If We Were Villains than The Secret History, because The Secret History has just like a snowstorm component to it. Like, there's literally Richard is stupid. He instead of asking for help, he decides to almost freaking freeze to death, because I don't even know what was going through his head. I do know what was going through his head, but I also don't know what was going through his head. But If We Were Villains really gives that eerie, spooky, dark academia fall vibes, and I need people to stop comparing this to The Secret History, because you're not going to get The Secret History in If We Were Villains. You're not going to get The Secret History if it was Shakespeare in If We Were Villains. They're just different levels of dark academia, and I think that they're good in their own right. So the next question is there a new release you're waiting for? So one of them is Heavenly Tyrant by Sharon J. Zhao. I read an arc of Iron Widow, and yes, I had to like quell my screaming for it because it was so good, and then it finally got released. It's quiet for a little bit, and then it sort of blew up, which, fantastic. Love that for the author. It's great. So really excited about that. Wind and Truth, obviously. Hence why I'm reading Rhythm of War. Hence why I'm vlogging it as well. Doi. And then there's another book that I found, which is called The Great Library of Tomorrow. I do have an e-version of it, and I'm really excited to read it. I don't really know much about it, actually. Like, I've heard the synopsis, I've read the synopsis, it just hasn't stuck in my head. And the other book that I've been trying to find an ebook copy of for ages is Blood of the Levant, and I forget the author's name, but I'll put the cover somewhere. And the cover is so stunning, but I just don't have $40 to shell out on a hardcover book. And on Amazon, it's available as an ebook, but I don't want to buy it through Amazon. I would rather buy it through Kobo. I think I'm gonna email the publisher, because they're small publishers, so maybe they'll be able to answer. I'm gonna ask if the book is going to be available on Kobo, because I've been trying to find it. I don't want to give money to Amazon and stuff, and I also don't have $40 to shell out for a hardcover book. And yeah, 3 books you need to read before the end of the year. I definitely didn't write 3. I wrote 4. 2 are the same series, so The Dragon Republic and The Burning God. I need to finish the series. to be honest, I don't think I will. I think next year is going to be very series centered. I want to say, I'm speaking that into the universe. It might not be, I don't know what's going to happen in 2025. But yeah, and the other one is The Sword of Kaigen, which I have this really pretty edition of. I'm just going to grab it. It's just this gorgeous, gorgeous edition. I'm kind of scared to crack it open. Also, the pages are really white. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, they're really white. You know, like here's a difference. I don't know if you can see it there. Like, you see how this is slightly less white and this is like really white? Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, so I might just do the ebook of this. Please let me know how the audiobook of it is, because I might try and find the audiobook version and just do it via audiobook. I also really like this edition, but I don't really want to crack the spine open or anything. I'm not a stickler for these kind of things, but it's just that this one is so pretty and I don't want to do anything to it. I'm just gonna put that here because I don't feel like putting it back. And The Red Palace by June Her. I can't believe I haven't read this one. This is like one of her most popular novels, and I haven't read it yet. Whoops. The next question is a book that could still shock you and become a favorite. So I don't really have any specific. I mean, I do have a few specific books, but one of them is so I read a Hong Kong book earlier. So I read Human Acts and I really loved it. I'm thinking that if I read the rest of the, you know, translated English books, because she has more books out in Korean, but they're not all translated. And so if I read all her other books, I'm thinking that one of them, besides Human Act, will surprise me and become a favorite. I've heard things about The Vegetarian. I don't know how I feel about the things that I've heard about The Vegetarian. I am terrified to read The Vegetarian. I will get to it. I'm just so scared to read The Vegetarian because of the stuff that I've heard. And yeah, and another one is I'm thinking that Rhythm of War will surprise me and become like a favorite. I still maintain the fact that Words of Radiance is the best Sanderson book that I have ever read, as well as my favorite Sanderson book. And yeah. Sorry, who is that? What's going on? Okay. So yeah, so I'm thinking that maybe Rhythm of War will surprise me, maybe it won't, I don't know. I really want to read, where is it? A Study in Drowning, so I'm hoping that will also surprise me. I haven't heard the best of things, but, like, from some of the people I talk to on the regular, but I'm really excited to read that one. And Little Thieves. Now this is a book that I randomly picked up because I thought the cover was cool, and it reminded me of the whole sort of mother, maiden, crone, maiden, mother, crone of like Hecate and stuff. I know there's a lot of like stuff about Hecate not actually being mother, maiden, crone and all that stuff, so I'm not gonna go into that, but it's just, you know, off the top of my head, that's what it reminded me of, and it looked really interesting. And one of my close friends on Instagram, Divvy, talked about it to me. Like, there was a thing that happened, and she guessed one of the books on my bookshelf. She's like, you need to read it. The rep for certain, you know, groups is fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and it's a really unique story, so I'm really excited to get to that. The next question, I think this is the last question, is... I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Have you started making plans for 2025? Yeah, so I've been slowly building my list of anticipated releases by way of building the list of book club picks. So that's sort of how I go. So for the book club, if you would like to join, I will leave the links down below. I have a Discord, I have an Instagram, although I haven't really updated that in a while. It's just a lot doing several social medias. You just kind of get tired of it to a certain extent. You get burnt out. So yeah, and setting reading goals. I think my reading goals are fairly small, but so they're fairly achievable. And it's a very yearly goal, so it's not, you know, monthly goals, which I don't think I can do because I feel like a month is too constraining. But if it's a yearly goal, then I can work with that, you know? So yeah, so I have started making plans for 2025. I started sort of building my content calendar in a sense, and I am very excited for all the content that I will hopefully bring to you in 2025. Very exciting. If you haven't subscribed yet, please, 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 please do. I really want to get to 1,000 subscribers. If not by the end of the year, then hopefully by 2025, you know, in 2025, by the end of 2025. So please share this video, like this video, comment on this video, subscribe, follow me on all my socials, and let me know your answers down below. I try to read all your comments and reply to them, and I will see you in the next one. Happy reading!